Well, good afternoon or good morning, depending upon which coast you are joining us on. Thanks for those of you who are chiming in today to our first ever Doctor of Ministry virtual open house. My name is Matt Till. I'm the Director of Communications here at Knox Seminary. We're really glad that you have joined us today. Listen, we just don't want to waste too much of your time, but we would love to just kind of just get right into it today. And the goal is simple. We want to tell you all about the Doctor of Ministry program, and I want to introduce you and get you in front of two amazing people here at the seminary. One of which is Dr. Scott Manor. He's the Associate Professor of Historical Theology and also the President of Knox. And then also Dr. Tim Sansbury, who's the Associate Professor of Philosophy and Theology. And both of them are going to give you an opportunity just to kind of hear about the exciting things that are happening here at Knox Seminary, but also tell you all about the DMin program. And the goal here today is to answer your questions. We want to do this within about 45 minutes or less. We want to respect your time, and we want to get as much information in as we can. So we hope you've got something to write on, Evernote if you're like me, love your digital tools, or perhaps you got a pen and paper and you're ready to take some notes. This is a great time for you to do that. I also want to point your attention to the Q&A function in the webinar. Please feel free to just put your questions in there. You can start at any time. We'll be monitoring that. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll have an opportunity to answer as many of those questions as we are able. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Dr. Tim Sansbury. Tim, say hello and tell us all about the amazing things that are happening here at Knox.
Yeah, guys. Hey, welcome, and thanks for joining us. Dr. Manor is going to be telling you a little bit more about the specifics of the DMin program here in a minute. I just kind of wanted to talk to you about what Knox is trying to do overall, how we're trying to be a resource to you. If you've been on our website much, you've probably seen some posts about this, but we look at the internet, and even before COVID, look at the internet and online learning as really an opportunity for us to switch around the way seminary has been. I'm sure most of you guys, you would have gone off to seminary. You would have had to take, uproot your family, leave your church, and go someplace to go study for a while. And that was worth it when there was no other way. But now we know many of you are embedded in churches, you're embedded in ministries, and we're trying to find ways to let seminary come to you. And that's really a big part of how we're trying to shape everything in the program is to take whatever we can, leverage our ability to remotely send to you the content and the training, still be able to remotely build out a community like this one, the sort of 11 of us that are in here and more that are probably going to join us, being able to build a remote learning community and provide you with an opportunity to continue to grow in preparation for your vocation, but to do that from where you are. There are still classes to come to. We love having you here. And we'll make sure that there's the opportunity as you're able to come take classes with us and get to know us, which we like better. But because we're trying to be a resource to you, we want to make sure that everything is available for you to do remotely as well, and really to be able to get that traditional educational experience in a non-traditional way, so that you can be better equipped for your ministry with better access, better cost, better availability of the development. So that's the big picture of what Knox is doing. Once upon a time, we were a seminary with about 25 students in a good year rolling around here in Fort Lauderdale, and it wasn't that long ago. And now we've got hundreds of students studying from all around the world, and we're excited about it. We're excited about being a resource for them, and we'd love to be a resource for you as well. So thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll answer your questions.
Well, Tim, thanks so much. And let's go ahead and toss it on over to Dr. Scott Manor, our president of the seminary, and he also oversees the DMin program. So Scotty, tell us more about the DMin program.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And welcome, everyone. I know you guys are busy with life and work and ministry and family. And so taking a little bit of time to learn about our program today, we're grateful that you're here. And actually, because of presumably those life circumstances for you, the Doctor of Ministry is really a great fit for people who are already engaged in ministry, who've already gone through a master's level program in a related field and who are in the business and practice of actually doing ministry and wanting to grow in those skills. And so I'd love to tell you just a little bit about the program. We'll cover the topics about the program itself, who would be eligible for the program, and then some of the aspects of, for example, how you might fund the Doctor of Ministry program. But to begin with, as my friend Tim was just saying, part of what Knox has been doing in the last decade or so is really understanding that our opportunity as a seminary to train ministers of the gospel like you in a variety of different callings is tremendous, and is something that we want to pursue very intentionally. And so over that course of time, we have developed a really robust online learning platform. And right now, the Doctor of Ministry, as of this summer, is actually available to you completely online. That was actually different as of about 4 months ago. There used to be a residency requirement. You would have to come onto the Knox campus. And, you know, I mean, that's not a bad thing. South Florida in January tended to be one of the most attractive terms for our students who lived above the Mason-Dixon line when it was freezing cold, like Matt, for example. And you can still do that. We will still provide opportunities for that. But for those who are unable to travel, and that's a lot of our students, even right now, there's an opportunity for you to be able to take this degree 100% online. And so what does that look like? If you're going to be an online Doctor of Ministry student, what does that even look like? Well, the way that our online program runs is that the Doctor of Ministry courses are actually 8 weeks in length, each being 3 credit hours long. And we offer 6 terms over the course of a year, where depending on your schedule, depending on the course schedule and the courses that are being offered, you'll have opportunities throughout the year to take online Doctor of Ministry classes with us. Now, a lot of our Doctor of Ministry students, because they're busy, because they have families, because life is hectic, especially in a pandemic, will choose maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 courses in a given year to take, depending on the ebbs and flows of their ministry season. And that's typical for a lot of our Doctor of Ministry students. It takes about, on average, between 3 and 5 years to complete the degree program. And so you've got 8 classes that you would need to take over the first 3 or 4 years. And then that will culminate, the degree actually culminates into a final project, which is the last 6 hours of your program. We call it the major project. It's basically your dissertation, where you have the opportunity, based on what your ministry is, what your experience has been, and what the education that we've provided here through Knox has been, for you to address a particular problem or an issue that you see relating to your ministry context today. And so we have students who are missionaries. We have students who are Bible translators in third world countries. We have your traditional pastors. We have educators and administrators of schools and churches. And so this program, and especially that final project, it can really be tailored to fit towards a unique aspect of what it is that is maybe driving you to pursue this degree in the first place, but then also would be relevant for perhaps others who are in similar ministry positions, that if they were to read that major project, that final dissertation would be a blessing to them, an encouragement, a guide based on the knowledge that you have here. And so that's generally the way that the program works academically. 8 courses for a total of 24 credit hours, plus the 6 hours. It's a 30-hour program. Within the program, we offer 3 completely voluntary tracks for you to be able to focus your studies if you decided that you want to. Some people come in and they say, I'm really drawn to exegesis of scripture, or I want to preach better, or I want to think through how the gospel relates to the culture around me. We have a track designed to help narrow the types of courses that you would want to take during the coursework phase of your degree program, so that you can walk away with a particular set of expertise as a result of having done the track. You don't have to. If you wanted to simply come and just take the courses that you think are going to be most helpful for you, that's fine. We have a lot of students who choose not to do the tracks too. again, this degree program is really designed to be flexible and to meet you where you're at, and also to still provide enough of a singular forward motion so that by the end of this, you will be better equipped, better trained in order to be more effective in your ministry calling. The courses are taught by the Knox faculty, such as Dr. Sansbury and myself, and a handful of others here who are part of the core residential Knox faculty. But we also invite a number of guest speakers, a lot of whom are here pretty routinely. Brian Chappell, Bruce Waltke has taught a number of courses for us. Tremper Longman, Gerald Bray, and others are all faces that you would have the opportunity to become familiar with as a student here at Knox. Moving on from sort of the course content and the degree program description, I want to talk a little bit about the eligibility, because there's some exciting news that has come out recently from our accrediting body, where traditionally the Doctor of Ministry program was really aimed for people who had completed their Master of Divinity specifically, and then gone on and done some sort of vocational pastoral ministry work for at least 3 years or more. And while that's still the traditional pathway for a lot of students who go on to pursue the Doctor of Ministry, our accrediting body over the course of the summer instituted a whole new set of standards. And within those, the important thing for you in this conversation is that they've actually broadened the eligibility for people who are interested in coming and being part of the Doctor of Ministry program. And so that could include people who maybe don't have a Master of Divinity, those who may not be pastors of churches, but it is actually intended to recognize the fact that ministry calling can take a lot of different forms. So maybe you're a teacher at a Christian school, maybe you're an administrator or a headmaster of a school. Perhaps you have another ministry calling for a parachurch ministry or some other form of ministry that is reaching out to a particular group of people outside of the church context. We have, like I said, missionaries and actually university, college professors who have gone through the Doctor of Ministry program, educators, administrators, et cetera. And so if that fits you and you have a master's degree in a related field, then that opens the door for you to consider actually becoming a student here. Of course, there are GPA requirements and other things that go along with that, references, the typical things that you would need to fill out an application. But as a first step, if you are someone who has a master's degree in a field related to your unique ministry calling, and you feel led to consider the Doctor of Ministry program, we would love to have the opportunity to tell you more about it. And you can actually see more on our webpage. If you were to go to knoxseminary.edu and under the academics, little bar at the top, you'll see the degree programs page, and the Doctor of Ministry has a lot of really helpful information for you right there. And so I'd encourage you to consider looking at the webpage. I'd encourage you to consider giving us a call. You can always contact us through our website or through our admissions office. Matt will give you some more information about that here at the end of this Zoom session. But the last thing I wanted to talk about was, what does it look like to be able to do this in a way that's financially responsible for you and your family and your ministry context? Because we realize that education is very costly. And in fact, there's a lot of studies going on right now about how devastating significant debt can be for seminary graduates. And so while Knox doesn't actually accept federal student loans, we do provide an avenue that a lot of our Doctor of Ministry students take advantage of, and that's called our Church Partnership Program. And what that means simply is that if your church or ministry is willing to support you in going through this program, Knox will actually match dollar for dollar up to 1/3 of the tuition costs, whatever is contributed on your behalf. And so for a lot of our students, their churches say, this is great. We want our pastor, we want our teacher, we want this person who is involved in a ministry calling that we think is important to get this degree so that they can be even more effective in the work that they do. And we're going to support it. And Knox says, we're going to join with you in this. We are going to partner with you financially so that the total tuition cost for students in the Church Partnership Program is 1/3 of what it would typically be. And so that's a tremendous avenue that has helped dozens of our students be able to graduate with no debt as a result of having gone through this degree program. So that's the core aspects of the Doctor of Ministry program. I'd love to open it up, hand it back over to Matt to be able to maybe facilitate some questions that you might have.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks so much, Scott. And just again, we're starting to see the questions come in. There's a few there we're going to get to here in just a moment. And so if you're watching and you're joining us, or maybe you just kind of popped in here in the last few minutes, feel free to ask your questions in using the Q&A function here in Zoom. And we're seeing them come in live, and we're going to get to as many of them as we possibly can. Tim, I want to go back to you just for a second. And Tim, talk a little bit about, for a moment, what makes the online experience at Knox different maybe than what somebody else might be experiencing currently. We know that everybody has pivoted to an online experience in higher education this year, especially because of COVID. But what makes Knox's experience perhaps unique, or perhaps an advantage over another institution, perhaps? And don't forget to unmute your mic, Tim.
There we go. It's a great question, Matt. And I think part of it is that part of the answer for this right now period is we were already doing this. We were already heading this direction. You guys in the background here, I'm in the Knox classroom and looking up at the front of the room. And that's where we're actually set up now so that any student can take any of our live classes. Essentially, they can take our live classes from anywhere in the world. Now, depending on where the time zones may not be the easiest thing, but that was already where we were headed. We wanted to make sure that the accessibility was there for the live taught classes. We weren't forced into it. We moved a little more quickly than we might have otherwise because of the change in situation. But this was already part of our vision, part of our mission, part of our plan for our students. The more, I suppose, standard online class, which is not participating in the live classroom here, for those of you that need the extra flexibility that online provides, that also was already set up to help make sure we provide you with not just the relationship with the teacher, but also the relationship with other students. And so what you'll find, our online classes make use of videos of our residential courses, but as often as possible, your teacher in the course will be the person who is the lecturer. So as much as I can, I will run my own online classes, but they're also set up so that you'll go through the class together with other students. So we have an 8-week online term. Each week you'll have essentially progress marks that you have to make, and you'll be going through that with the other students. You'll have discussion forums. You'll have a community forum where you can go in and you can have conversations about class questions. Our professors will do at least one. I try to usually have at least 2 Zoom sessions like this with the students. That's sort of a dialogue where you can provide some of those class questions that you would have. So whether it's making the residential experience available anywhere around the world or structuring the online experience to keep you with the community, we're trying to make sure that what we give you is as much like what you would be getting as possible, not just relationship with the professor, but also relationship with other students, and just that accountability of going through the class. I know my seminary that had a distance learning program basically gave you a book and a bunch of tapes and said, when you get done, let us know. And we're providing you with a lot more structure. And if you're like me, that kind of structure and accountability is pretty important.
That's great. Thank you, Tim, so much for filling us in on just kind of how, Knox pursues and really takes advantage of the online learning environment and building that community together with other students, whether they're down the street from you or around the nation, around the globe. I remember myself as a student, going back a few years now, who was also an online student. It was really exciting just to be kind of working together on the same projects, the same papers with a community of people that were really, literally around the globe, and getting the diversity of thought, I think was really helpful for me and helped me become a better critical thinker of theology. Let's get to one of the questions. Bobby is asking, he's too, as well as a alum, and Bobby, welcome. He did the Master of Arts in Biblical and Theological Studies, just like myself, actually. And He's asking the question, why would he not pursue his doctorate in perhaps at any other school? What is the advantage of Knox? I think we've kind of touched on some of the pieces here, but maybe Tim or Scotty, do you want to kind of answer that, or perhaps even kind of chime in? And if something else has come to mind that you haven't already said, what is the advantage of taking the doctorate here at Knox? Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I can build off of what Tim was saying earlier, and actually, Bobby, I remember Bobby as a student here at Knox, and so hopefully the fact that Bobby and I have had a number of email exchanges and communications is indicative of the kind of experience that we want to provide our Doctor of Ministry students here. There's an intimacy involved with the level of communication between students and faculty. There's a real interest in the part of the administration and the professors here to see you succeed and to understand your context and your calling and be able to work with you in terms of thinking through and thinking along with you. How does this program help you be more effective in the ministry calling that God's given you? And so that's one thing that I would say, is that there's an individual aspect to our care and interest in our students. You're not just a number. We know you. Bobby, I remember you. And then a second thing that I would say is that because we recognize that ministry calling is, yes, it includes pastors, but there's also a lot of people who are serving in ministry contexts that are outside of the church too. And what that does is it creates a program where you have a number of voices coming and engaging in the same topic from different people in different places, doing different things within the context of glorifying God and expanding his kingdom. And so you have a polychromatic view of a lot of these different subject areas that we may be teaching in, because students will be asking questions as they relate specifically to that ministry context and calling where they are already serving. And so it's interesting in that we actually learn a lot from one another and the kinds of questions that we're asking as we cover different topics, simply because of the diversity within our student body as well. And then a third thing that I would just emphasize based on my comments earlier too, is the desire for us to be tremendously flexible and to recognize that a fundamental aspect of what Knox is trying to do is to serve the church meaningfully. And that's, the church in the specific sense, but also within the broader sense, the people of God who are functioning as ministers of the gospel in different callings. And so our goal is to actually see you through the program, but within a context where we are meeting you where you're at. And as a result, we've created a program that's tremendously flexible. And so those are some of the highlights from students who have taken the Doctor of Ministry program, is I've asked them what they think and what things that they really appreciated about the program. Those are just a few points that I've heard and that I've experienced from this end on the faculty side of things.
Tim, are you trying to chime in as well? Do you have a question, or you want to add to that?
No, to basically, agree. I was looking at some of the other questions as well, and thinking how to chime in. Part of this decision on where you go is very personal. We recognize that. I know I looked at several different schools each time it was too many times that I was picking a school. And you're going to have to evaluate the different needs and experiences you've got. And, Bobby, we had classes a long time ago. I think you'll have a good read on how the seminary education goes here. But actually, if I can, because it factors in with this, Stephen's question about, where to go next fits into this as well. Stephen, I think as you look at an academic program to continue your studies, it's going to depend a lot on where your goals are. The DMin program is meant to be a program for people in active ministry, to help them to grow in active ministry. So you mentioned two things, teacher and academic. To grow as a teacher, the DMin is a good fit. It's the right kind of program. It's going to be designed, even in the places where it originally was designed pastorally, It's more generally designed, hey, learn to communicate better, learn to apply this better, learn to show people how this matters in their lives better, learn, certainly learn academics at a deeper level, but with the goal of applying that within the church, of making that useful and helpful within the church. Hal, it sounds like you had a similar question on this. You don't have to have pastoral experience, but you do need to have ministry experience, because this is a practical ministry aimed degree. Stephen, for you, if you want a full academic PhD experience, the DMin's not the best fit for that. But I would say, generally speaking, online programs won't be the best fit for that. The PhD is designed around burying yourself in the library. I see you have a PhD in biochemistry. Burying yourself in the lab you've experienced, and so really what we're designed for is strengthening people who are actively ministering in that ministry. And so that's going to be the person that finds this is the best fit, with the ability for us to come alongside of you with our expertise in various areas. And then as you do your project, guiding you to help make sure that your project is not just academically sound, but also is really helpful to the church, an area of your passion where you say, hey, here's how the church can do better. And we help you to shape that. So, hopefully you really put it into use, and the church does do better because of your time here, both your ministry and the ministry of others.
Then we've got a question that appeared in the chat. It's along the same lines. If you could just continue that train of thought. I think you've already answered it, but let's just clarify it. The question is, this individual has already studied here at Knox, has the MABTS degree. They're currently not serving as a pastor, but are currently in ministry as a leader at their church. Do you need to have true pastoral experience for the DMin program, or would this person qualify?
Yeah, so I was trying to catch Hal and I didn't do it by name. I was kind of looking over to the side there quick.
Yeah.
Hal, you would need to have, there's an expectation that you have experience in ministry, but it doesn't have to be specifically pastoral. And so one of the students right now is a headmaster who's never been a pastor, won't ever be a pastor. But his ministry experience is extensive, and he's a great fit, great student for us, and the program is a fit to him. And even as we go forward, we're going to be making sure there's more flexibility for you, so that we don't assume in the classes that we push you towards that you're necessarily going into pastoral ministry. There are some aspects, communicating well, we want everybody to communicate well. You don't necessarily have to be able to be trained in preaching for us to say, we want you to write well, we want you to speak well. And so that's the kind of thing that wouldn't be necessary in a PhD program, but this is a program meant to help you grow in active ministry. And so that'll continue to be part of an emphasis for the program.
This is one of the exciting things I think that, even as I see it from my side with the DMin program, is just the level of flexibility and how it is being catered to the student and to meet the student's need. And as we see, the diversity of ministry is changing, the world landscape is changing, so is ministry, right? And our contexts are changing. And so for me, I think this is really exciting for any individual who's thinking about, man, I need to take this to another level. I want to take my education to another level. I want to take my leadership to another level of confidence. This just sounds like an incredible program to be part of. And I just appreciate you guys just sharing your heart on this and getting these questions answered. Let's move on to another one. David asks, it looks like David kind of popped in late. David, glad you're here with us. He's asking the question, would each DMin student have some sort of faculty advisor that follows that student through the program? How does that work? Scotty, you want to chime in?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. So for better or worse, I'm the program advisor for the Doctor of Ministry program. I've been doing this for probably the last 5 or 6 years here at Knox. And we've seen a lot of changes, a lot of very positive changes to the Doctor of Ministry program. And so and I've also seen a lot of students go through. And with that comes the experience of seeing where students did really great, and also what were some of the obstacles that are encountered and how they overcame them. And so it's my desire, and I am very closely connected with our Doctor of Ministry student body, where I'm available to our students. And as they go through the program, it is really important that they stay in contact with me, in large part because so many of our Doctor of Ministry students are only taking maybe 2 or 3 courses a year because of the busy load that they have within their ministry context and work and family and other pressures that ministers of the gospel feel. And because all of those are different for each individual member of the Doctor of Ministry program, the one person that's able to sort of shepherd each of them along is me. And I really enjoy doing that. I enjoy getting to know our students and walking through them as their ministries ebb and flow over the course of their time here, but then also seeing them through and giving them the confidence that they can actually do this. Doctoral programs are intimidating. They're scary because it's a whole new level. It's different from a master's degree. And so, a lot of students will come in with questions simply about, am I going to be able to do this? And so there's a real sense from the Knox faculty in general, and then me as a program advisor, of recognizing the big challenge that this is in the midst of all the other challenges that they're facing, but then equipping them. And as Matt mentioned earlier, giving them the confidence that they can do this. And so it's a tremendous joy at the end of an academic year, and you have the graduation ceremony and you're able to call out the names and see the people that you helped through this program graduate and go on to continue their ministries equipped fully with all the benefits that this program has to offer.
Well, so if you all got that and heard that correctly, access is key here. You're going to be studying with the president of our seminary, and he is a busy man, but I mean, this is his pride and joy, and this is something that he takes great pride in. And as we just heard, so Scotty, thanks for sharing that with us and helping students know who's going to be guiding them along in the process. I think that's really helpful, especially to kind of put the name in the face and hear from you directly about the program. That's very exciting. Let's, if we could, looks like we had somebody chime in a little late, or maybe didn't quite catch the introduction or the understanding of how the church partnership program works. How do we make this program affordable? Scott, do you want to just cover that again for us, just so that everyone's clear about the church partnership program and how we make this degree as affordable as possible for as many students as possible?
Yeah, that's great. It's a pretty simple premise, and that is that if you're part of a church or a school or whatever the ministry context is that you are in, if that body, that church, the school, the ministry, is willing to support you financially through your program, any dollar that they give towards your tuition, Knox will match up to 1/3. And so think about it in terms of a 3 credit hour class. All of our classes are 3 credit hour classes. As you take each one, rather than seeing the total cost that you're responsible for being 3 times whatever the hourly tuition rate is, you can think about it in terms of really a partnership between Knox and you and your ministry context coming together to support you and believe in what it is that you're doing and see the need for you to be able to get this degree and go on and be even more effective in your service. We each take one of those credit hours effectively. And so Knox will match up to 1/3 of whatever is given on your behalf towards your tuition.
Let's, Bobby's got another question here for us as well. And again, anyone who's on, please feel free. We've got some more time available booked for this. So if you've got some additional questions, you got something you're thinking about, there are no stupid questions here in this room. You've got access right now to Scotty and Tim to get all your questions answered. So feel free to drop them in either in the chat or else ideally even in the Q&A function here through the webinar. Bobby, if I'm understanding the question correctly, please feel free to, or he's asking the question, I'm sorry, about what kind of job opportunities come out of this degree program. What are the opportunities that kind of resolve around the DMin program? Are we just building more pastors? Where do our students go on?
So if I can jump in on that, I mean, I think most of the students who go into this program are doing it while they're actively working in ministry. And so it's part of them growing in the job that they have right now, as a way of sort of providing new job opportunities, what it's going to do is provide you with a higher level of qualifications in ministry. You'll have a terminal degree. You'll have a degree that says you've gone through the process of growing in your ability to exposit scripture, open up the word, teach it to people, to be able to communicate well. Again, with that original design that was aimed at the pastorate, growing into this overall practical ministry, that you'll be somebody who has been trained for leadership in churches. And so that's where your opportunities are going to be. Look, sometimes the word doctor is helpful. It's not always helpful in getting a job, but you'll have that element of things that will go in there for sure. But overall, what's going to be done is it's going to give you the ability to say, look, I not only got a master's level education, but I went on and I completed a doctorate that was really aimed at serving the church. And so I've committed myself to serving the church. So the specific answers on that, it's really going to depend on the church and the ministry opportunities and your background and what you want to do. But as a way to support, that's going to be the main way that it supports it. So if I can answer, there's another question that I think, so I'll say the question, Gulch, the question on homosexuality, feminism, and inclusive language. I teach the ethics class. The overall, going into each one of those, a big topic. But what I would say is, one of your required classes will be a pastoral ethics class, and we will be going into scripture. We talk through scripture as being authoritative. And so what we're going to be doing is taking more seriously what scripture says about things like sexuality than we are going to be what the world is pressuring us to say. And for some people, that's going to be an advantage and something that they're very excited about. And for other people, they're going to want to look for a different school that is more concerned with being socially acceptable and less concerned with saying what scripture says. So I don't know which answer you're looking for there. Usually when people ask those kinds of questions, there's a hope and a dream, but that's what you're going to get from us. Is we are trying to understand what God's word says so that we can bring it into our context, not let our context tell us what God's word has to say.
All right, thanks, Tim. We've got another question here just about affordability. Bobby's asking, are there any other payment plans other than using the church partnership program? So we realize that some students probably may not have a supporting church, or their church may be really small. Like, hey, I got 20 members. They're not going to be able to afford, help pay for a third of my, partner with me. But what are the other payment options here to make this affordable? Scotty?
Tim, if you don't mind, this is a little bit more your area.
Sure.
So the main bring down the cost plan that we have is the church partnership plan. There are a few other options to spread out the cost of the program, and even those are more designed for the master's level program. Again, I think because for the most part, people studying in the Doctor of Ministry program are actively employed in a church, and their church really responds well as a church partnership in the church partnership program. That ends up being the main tool that we provide. A student looking for a way to spread out the cost a little bit more evenly, we'd be able to work with them. There aren't other scholarship programs available for the DMin. It is a terminal degree. It's not a minimum level degree to be able to do your studies. And it's not an academic degree. And so it doesn't function in a place where there's a lot of scholarships for it. The church partnership is the best way by far for you to bring down your cost.
Tim, have we seen other sorts of creative financing from students, other people that they've been able to, kind of gather around to help them in their degree that would be sufficient?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think we've had students, especially overseas students. There's a number of organizations that provide scholarships, foundations that provide scholarships to help pastors, to help ministry leaders get better training all over the world. And so, looking for outside funding, and there's a lot of places where we receive we essentially receive tuition payments from outside foundations on behalf of students that in some cases we've never heard of prior to the student coming to us and saying, hey, you know, this organization wants to help me go to school. Is that okay? Which the answer is absolutely, that's okay. I mean, that's exactly what we're looking for. So you may find there's lots of opportunities in other places to say, this is my ministry goal. Here's where I want to go. Here's how a DMin will help me. Will you support me? And there's many opportunities for outside support, and we're happy to work with people to try to make sure we provide the right information to make sure so that they know that you're going to a school that is accredited, that's got accredited degrees, that's going to have degrees that are recognized internationally. All of that is very important for those kinds of organizations, and we're able to provide that to you because we have gone through the process, and we've stuck with the work of making sure that we maintain accreditation that's internationally recognized accreditation because it's recognized by the U.S. government.
We've got another question here, and we're getting low on our time. So if we're just grateful that you've all joined us today, and this has been an incredible conversation. If you've got another burning question, please get it in now before we close up shop here and just kind of leave you with a couple of last things. Scotty, can I have you take this real quick? Question is, we talked earlier about the Masters of Divinity is no longer a requirement for the DMin program. We have a fellow, a Knox alum who actually has the degree in Christian and Classical Studies. Is that accepted in the DMin program?
Sure, and I'm happy to answer that. I'm happy to see that the question is from another student that I've corresponded with in the past. So James, thanks for the question. The short answer is yes. It's the MA in Christian and Classical Studies would be a viable degree for you to consider doing a Doctor of Ministry program. It's important to remember that the degree is what we're looking for is how does that relate to your ministry context? So if you have a degree from a seminary like Knox, especially if it's a unique one, like the one in Christian and Classical Studies, and then you've gone on and you found yourself doing particular work, a lot of our MACCS students go on into education roles, and a lot of those are within Christian schools. And so, James, I'm not sure about your particular context at this point, but if that were you and you find yourself serving in some sort of capacity where you see your calling as ministry and you've seen the way in which the MA in Christian and Classical Studies has helped inform that, and you say, I want to go on and be better at what I am doing right now, then the Doctor of Ministry program at Knox would be something where we would really welcome further inquiries from you and an application from you with that. And so, it doesn't just have to be limited to certainly Knox MA programs or the MDiv program. There's a lot of different programs out there in ministry leadership and other degree programs from other schools that are aiming their students towards other ministry callings as well. And so Knox is now a great option for those graduates with degrees outside of the Master of Divinity to think through what's the next step for them to be even better equipped so that they can be even more effective in that particular ministry calling. The one thing I will say is that if you don't have an MDiv, and this is a stipulation from our accrediting body, is that for those who apply and don't have a Master of Divinity degree, we have a handful of questions that we ask you that simply help us better understand what is your educational background? How does that relate to your ministry calling and context right now? And then how do you see the Doctor of Ministry advancing that meaningfully? So just, some simple diagnostic questions to help us better understand what your context is.
Well, thanks, guys, so much just for your time today. And I want to do is just leave a couple of last minute items here just for us before we take off. First of all, anyone who's on this call right now, you guys can go directly to our website at knoxseminary.edu. I put a direct link in the chat for you if you haven't seen it already. And that will take you directly to the info page on the DMin program. That'll give you a scope of the program, answer more of these questions, or at least a lot of the things that we've already covered here today. Feel free to check that out. And of course, apply directly right on the website. So if you're thinking about, man, I want to get my application in, I'm thinking about pursuing this beginning January 2021. We're taking applications now for that. So please feel free to begin that application process. We're happy to help walk you through it as well, too, if you have any questions. If you're still not sure, or maybe you're still thinking about this and you're like, man, this program sounds great. I'm not ready to jump in for January, but maybe I'm thinking about the next academic year in the fall or the summer. We have a rolling enrollment. So we have new courses and new classes starting all the time. And as Tim mentioned earlier, like every 8 weeks is pretty modular. So you can pretty much, Scotty or Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but they can jump in pretty much almost at any time during the year. So if January is not the right time for you, maybe coming up in March or April is going to be the next entry point for you, or the summer, or even the fall. Get that application started. Get that process going now, so that we can be able to help walk through anything that might come up in that application to make sure you get accepted and approved into the school. And we can also help you with financial things as well too. And then, of course, if you've got further questions, feel free to email us too. The email address is located in the chat. It's admissions@knoxseminary.edu. Again, admissions@knoxseminary.edu. And just so you know, there's a live human being on the other side of that email. That is not a dummy email. You're not going to get robocalled later. There's actually somebody on the other side, and his name is Derek. And Derek's incredible, and he's going to answer any question that he has or that you have for him. And if he doesn't know the answer, he's going to get it for you right away. So feel free to, and he'll get you connected directly with Scotty or Tim as well too. And they'll be happy to walk through any of this stuff with you even further for those of you who are on this call today. Tim, any last things you want to say before we hang up today? Tim, don't forget to unmute.
I did. Hey, we're the school that really knows this online thing really well. So I usually don't touch that button. No, it's great to have everybody here. We're glad that you looked at the program. Thanks for participating in this. And, absolutely follow up with us if you've got other questions. We're available. You're going to have a lot of questions that are specific, and those will be questions to get the direct follow-up on, but we're glad you joined us. Thank you.
And Scotty, how about you?
Yeah. Again, just like Tim mentioned, thank you for taking some of your time to spend with us. And I just want to encourage you, all of you are considering this because you're involved in some form of ministry right now. And given all the world events that are happening right now and the pressures that people are facing, your work is tremendously important. So regardless of whether we see an application from you or not, be encouraged that your work matters, and we will be praying for you as you continue on from here.
Well, again, Tim, Scott, thanks so much for your time today out of your busy schedules to make time for for those who joined us today. And we're grateful for you, for those of you who took the time out to log in and to be a part of this webinar. We're really grateful for you. And if we can be of any help or service to you here at Knox Seminary, please don't be afraid to reach out. We're here to help just every step along the way. Thank you again for your time. And we look forward to hearing from you in the coming future. God bless you and have a great holiday.